Thank you for joining me here at Hawkeye's House of Horrors. Whether this is your first time being here or if you've been here before, I definitely thank you. I'm bad at doing this, so I'm going to get it right out of the chute here. Definitely, if you like this video, I would appreciate it if you hit like. As well, you could subscribe. I would appreciate that as well. There's other videos on here reviewing horror and fantasy films through the years. And certainly, if you want to comment on anything, you can do that as well. And today I'm going to do the first sequel to Creepshow, and that is Creepshow 2, released 5 years later in 1987. And this one, I would definitely say it's unfortunate, but I definitely say this is a step down from the original, but I still think this is a pretty good film. I still think it's pretty good. I definitely have a good time watching it. It's it is only an hour and a half long. It's much shorter than the original, but there's less stories in here as well. But I'm going to give a review for that film today. And I got since coming up into the attic here, I've failed to mention my cat is down here at my feet in the sun, loving it. So here we go. Now, this one was directed by Michael Gornick. He was the director of photography for the original Creepshow. And I think he also worked with Romero, I believe, on Day of the Dead. He may have done the same job on that film. But this was his only theatrical release. He did other things, but they were generally like TV shows or episodes for TV. For example, he did do 4 episodes of Tales from the Dark Side, which was yet another Romero project, including Word Processor of the Gods, which was written by Stephen King. And I believe that one is in Night Shift as well, that short story. And now the screenplay to this film was done by George A. Romero, the director of the original Creepshow, and it was based on stories by the King of Horror, Stephen King. And uncredited as well, I see there was Lucille Fletcher. Um, she was involved with, or it may have been her story for the final installment here, The Hitchhiker. Um, she may have come up with that story there. Now, this one was distributed by New World Pictures, and it was released on May the 1st, 1987. Now, this film had a lower budget, even though they did considerably well at the box office in the original. This one had a budget of $4 million, or in today's dollars, that's 2025. That would be a budget of $11.4 million. So that's a smaller budget. It's like half the budget that they had in the original film. Now, in my opinion, it still did well at the box office here. It made $14.1 million. Or in today's dollars, that'd be 40.2 million bucks on $11.4 million budget. I would say you did pretty good there. I read they thought the box office returns would be much higher. Um, but in my opinion, you got half the budget, so it makes sense you're going to get half the box office of the original. So I think it still did well, but it just stopped any idea of there being yet another sequel, which is interesting to me because they made millions of dollars on this puppy, but it wasn't what they were looking for. Now, I didn't mention in the original, I love the poster for this film, Creepshow 2, as well as the original. The original has the creep in the box office handing you a ticket. Very um, excellent, creepy poster. In this one, the creep is now in the theater watching the film with you, pointing at the screen. I always really like the poster to this film, and it's definitely a plus going on. for sure. Now, originally, like the original film, there was actually supposed to be five stories. There's only three, if you don't count the wraparound story. There was supposed to be five, but for budgetary reasons, it was cut down to three, and two of them were cut. Now, the other two that were originally supposed to be part of this was one called Pinfall, that was never filmed, and it wasn't based on a short story or anything like that. So it's just in a screenplay format, and that's it. It's about two rival bowling teams. One kills the other, and then that team comes back zombified, if you will. Very George A. Romero, and exacts revenge against the other team in a bowling alley. And it sounds like it gets kind of gory, and would have been good to see this one for sure. And the other one was Cat from Hell, which was later filmed in Tales from the Dark Side. As I said in the previous review for Creepshow, that was, I believe, supposed to be Creepshow 3, um, but was later renamed Tales from the Dark Side, kind of based on Romero's TV show at the same time. And now that was based on a short story by Stephen King, and it was first published in the nudie book Cavalier way back in 1977. So I'm going to go through the three stories, try and go through them quickly. Um, and the first story, is called Old Chief Woodenhead. So here we have an old couple, the Spruces, that's their last name, Spruce, played by the excellent George Kennedy. Um, just in a couple films he was in like Naked Gun and Delta Force around the same time as this. And Dorothy Lamour. This was actually her final screen performance, theatrical. And it had been 11 years since she'd been in a theatrical release. But she was in, I don't know her in a lot of other films because she goes way back to like the 40s. But she was in films like Road to Utopia, My Favorite Brunette. Both of them were from the 40s. But there you go. So that's the couple. And they own a general store in this dried up and lifeless town named aptly Dead River. Times are super tough on this town. And it seems like everyone buying goods from them is on like an IOU. So they're not making any money right now. So she's wanting to quit. Just quit. Let's retire. Let's move on to something else. But he feels he can't leave now from this town and feels he needs to return to the community that at one time he made a good profit from the people of this town. So he's just giving back to those good times that he and his wife and his children had. So we have Benjamin Whitemoon, played by Frank Salcido. He comes into the store, and due to all of the debt that his people are under or are that have with this store, he gives the Spruces what he calls the Aline, which is what their people hold precious, most precious. It is what they live for, really. Um, and if they are unable to pay their debt, all of their debts, everybody, within 2 autumns, the Aline is going to be theirs. So that's pretty good. But hold on. This is a Stephen King story, right? Exactly. Something's going to go really bad here. So in steps a bad group of guys. They're played by Holt McCallany, David Holbrook, who's actually the son of Hal Holbrook, who was in the original, and Don Harvey. They come in to rob this store, take the money, take whatever goods they're wanting. They're going to Hollywood, man, to get paid and laid, according to Sam. He's kind of he is the leader of the group, native. He's related to Benjamin Whitemoon. I'm not sure. I forget if he's his son or his nephew. But he's a bad, bad, bad apple. And they're here to do that. But Sam also wants the Aline. He's gonna steal that from these guys as well. But unfortunately, during this situation, excuse me, the spruces are killed. And well, I failed to mention outside there's a wooden native outside that, as the story's introduced, Mr. Spruce, he's putting on the war paint on the native outside the building. And as he said, he's been standing here for 30 years with this store. So he's been there a long time. But this wood native, after all this happens and these three bad dudes drive away, it comes to life. And what it's going to do is going to get the Aline back. And it's Creepshow, so he's going to exact some revenge as well against these three dudes. And he does it in rather quick fashion. Now, one problem I have, and modern audiences would have as well, is that the character Sam Whitemoon, he's played by Holt McCallany, and I think he does a pretty good job in the role. He's memorable and everything like that. But I'm pretty sure there is absolutely no native blood within that actor. Um, so absolutely, there's loads of people you could turn to, um, including, of course, the right race, um, right age, everything like that. That would be able to put in a good performance for this film. So that's the one problem I have um, with this story in particular. Um, Now, one thing I really enjoyed about this, though, is the whole situation where the three guys show up and are robbing the spruces. What it is about that I really like is you are able to see the horrors that are within these three characters. I mean, two of them, fat stuff, and Kavanaugh, the other two guys, they're definitely followers. Kavanaugh is a rich guy. He's got the money, he's got the car, but they're definitely followers. But you see the horrors certainly more within Sam and what he brings to the screen, but you can see what's going on there and the terror that they bring in, you know, just wanting to get something done or do something, get out of this town, and they're gonna murder isn't a problem with these three guys. So it's I enjoy that, even though that's not a good thing, but it's just I like seeing that in this story. And then the second story, this one is my personal favorite. So if you want to put in the comments what is your favorite story within Creepshow 2, or if you wanted to, you can go back to the original Creepshow and put your favorite story in there. My favorite from the original was the crate. This one, it's the raft. I really enjoy this one. It was later um, it wasn't first published there, but it was later included in Skeleton Crew, which I think was Stephen King's second collection of short stories from 1985, and also a very good book as well. Some very good stories in there. The Skeleton Crew. But in this one here, we have four college kids. There's Deke, played by Paul Satterfield, Randy, played by Daniel Beer, Laverne, played by Jeremy Green, and Rachel, played by Paige Hanna. That is the sister of Daryl Hannah as well. Um, so they go out puffing joints to a secluded lake so that they could swim to a raft and swim back. It's really cold out though. It's like autumn here. I wouldn't even try this. I'm a baby. I wouldn't do that. But the water is freaking cold. And when watching this, I never really thought they were acting. with the cold water, and it appears they weren't. Supposedly, Beer almost died of hypothermia while filming this part in this film. But they get to the raft and they notice this dark, mysterious blob out on the lake. Um, and yeah, this is one reason why I like it so much. It's goopy, grimy, and gory. As you see the blob killing off these four people one by one. I really, really enjoy the part where Rachel, she's the first one to go. Uh, she reaches out, kneeling on the raft, reaches out to the blob, and they're almost thinking beyond Randy. He's not thinking it is, but they're almost wondering, is it like an oil slick, something like that? But she reaches her hand into the blob. Uh-oh. And then the blob snaps up her arm and begins to quickly pull her into the water. There's a great shot once she's in the blob of her like reaching out slowly, trying really with all of her strength to try and get away from the blob. There's it. Oh, there's no way you can get out of its clutches. This blob. It's a great shot. Um, reaching to the other three on the raft and being taken away by the blob as well from the raft, and she's telling them how much it hurts. And I got to tell you, the first few times I saw this, that scene kind of disturbed me in a good way. Um, but I thought that was really effective, disturbing scene right there of her being taken away by this blob. And then next is Deke being dragged literally through the raft. The blob just comes up through the boards, the space between them, and pulls him through the raft itself. Um, and then this is a problem maybe with, well, with this one. We then have Randy and Laverne, and while she's asleep on the raft, Randy thinks it's best to sexually molest her while she's asleep. That's bad in a couple of ways. Number one, you're sexually molesting her. She's asleep. But second, like right after that goes down, she's then pulled into the lake by this blob. So yeah, I got a problem with that, the beginning part of it, but it does a wonderful job in turning the scene right around from quote unquote passion to mayhem and the next victim for this blob. It really does a good job in that. And then Randy jumps into the lake to swim away from the blob. And I like this. He gets to the shore and it's like, hey man, he made it. He made it. He's like, I beat you. And then the blob just goes over the shore, swallows him, and goes back into the lake. So you cannot get away from this blob. And then it lets out a nice little belch as well after he swallows them. And then it's hilarious as like the camera pans over and then you see it says no swimming. Yeah, no guff. You shouldn't swim in that lake, no doubt. And then the final story is the hitchhiker. It's certainly memorable. This one we have Rich Bitch Annie Lansing, played by the lovely Lois Childs. I remember her from this film for sure, but also Moonraker with Roger Moore, 1979. That was the James Bond film that went sci-fi. It was good for sure. Yeah, it's hard to dislike for me, anyways, any of the old James Bond films. But I remember her from that as well. But she's the main character in this one, and she's out banging her prostitute buddy, who looks like he likes reading Stephen King, as you see it, the book, right behind him in the bed. So that's pretty cool. They were putting Stephen King books in here for you to see. But she's got to get home before her hubby finds out. Thing is, while she's on her way home, she hits a helpless man, played by Tom Wright. Um, yeah, it's probably for him that's got to be a memorable role he's played. But this guy, he's just out hitchhiking. He's looking for a ride to Dover. That's all he's doing. He's out on the highway looking for a ride, but she hits him and kills him. Um, but I don't want my husband to find out I'm out sleeping with another man, so I'm just gonna drive away. Um, it's okay that I killed a guy. But then she runs him over and over and over and over and over in this story where this guy cannot be killed. Um, Now this one was actually it was possibly going to be in the original Creepshow, but it was the last story, the something creeping up on you, the one with the bugs with E.G. Marshall. They were afraid that one wasn't going to work, so they were going to put this one in its place. But it turns out it worked out fine, so they went with that story. So this one was um, written for the original Creepshow. Um, but I got to say, while it is memorable, um, personally, I think this is my least favorite of the bunch. I'm not saying it isn't enjoyable. It definitely is. Um, but I think what it is for me is it gets super ass silly with this guy that cannot be killed. It kind of goes over the line and right into campy hilarity, um, which to me, none of the other Creepshow stories up to this point went that far. Um, it really does. But like this is the one I laugh at the most of any of the Creepshow stories. This is the funniest. Um, because you see like after he's been run over, I don't know, 5 or 6 times, you see the hitchhiker like spreading eagle on the front of her car coming down a hill. Um, he's hanging on for life. Or afterlife, I guess. As she then hammers him into a tree and runs him over again and everything like that. It's pretty funny. Um, I'm guessing it's supposed to be, but um, it just crosses that line that, as I said, none of the other ones had ever done. But he definitely utters that infamous line. He says a few times during this, and it's like the only lines he says, which is "Thanks for the ride, lady," as he shows that he's still alive and all he wanted was a ride. Um, so he says those lines. And then finally, we have the wraparound story involving the two returning characters from the original film. And that would be Billy, who was reading Creepshow, and of course, the creep. And the creep here is played by Tom Savini, who did the effects to the original Creepshow. Here in this one, he's a consultant for the effects as well. So he's working on this one as well, but um, the effects were done by Howard Berger. Originally, it was supposed to be Ed French, I think, but he left during production, so they turned to Howard Berger, or he took over. Um, he was nominated for an Oscar for Hitchcock. Interestingly, I've never seen that film, and I love Hitchcock films. I got to see that one. But he did win an Oscar for Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. Um, so there you go. He would go on to get some real good success as well. Greg Nicotero was also huge in this one doing the makeup, and he would later work with Romero on Day of the Dead as well, and Savini on that particular film off the top of my head. But then, anyways, in this story, the Creep is bringing the latest shipment of Creepshow magazines to town, and Billy is there on his bike. He's life is stopping so that he can read this next installment of Creepshow. And I love how on the front of it is actually Billy himself from the original Creepshow with the voodoo doll. So that's kind of interesting. That that is what is on the front of that magazine that he's looking to read. And then it leads to an animated title sequence. And then the rest of the story is animated. There was nothing, no part of the story in the original was animated. So it kind of is going in another direction. And I am totally fine with that. Um, I find sometimes sequels need to do something different, go down another path, um, in order to stay fresh, in order to be different, in order to not try and duplicate what was done in the original. Um, and I like that. It can crank out a very effective sequel by doing that. And yes, I am kind of looking at you, Friday the 13th, here, and how you didn't do that. And when you did, they really weren't any good. But I like that about this. It's different in that sense. Um, because it's in the animation sequence, it's kind of going the comic book look style. It's a cartoon, not a comic, so it's kind of not really uh, fully going through on what it's trying to do, but I understand why they went that way. Um, so yeah. And then the creep as well in the story, he introduces the stories a la the Crypt Keeper from like Tales of the Crypt. Tales from the Crypt, sorry. And the voice of the creep, it's not Tom Savini, it's Joe Silver, who's got a very, I love that his voice is very distinctive, very foghorn like. Um, I love his voice. He was in a couple of David Cronenberg films from the 70s, Rabid and Shivers. And he was also in Death Trap with Michael Caine and Christopher Reeve as well. Um, but he does the voice of the creep. And then Billy comes across this gang of toughies, but he gets them in the end with his full grown Venus flytrap. And they love to eat meat, and you witness that. And well, those toughies are gone. It's lunchtime. Anyways, so yeah, now next, the music. I love the music to this film, and it's definitely one of the pluses of this film for sure. It's done by Les Reed as well as Rick Wakeman. And Rick Wakeman was in the band, yes. He was the keyboardist. Um, just to give you a little bit more information of Rick Wakeman, this dude wears a fucking cape while he's performing live, and he deserves to wear it. Great keyboardist. I love Yes. I don't give them enough credit, meaning I don't listen to them enough as I should. I really, really enjoy Yes, but he was part of the music as well. I'm not actually exactly sure who did what in the music, but I can guess. And the music over the credit sequence, my guess is that is Rick Wakeman, is very keyboardy, and it is amazing. And uh, great part of the score. Um, so I think he did that one for sure. And in the end, the score is also very, very catchy as well, but also very, very different than what John Harrison brought in the original. So it's its own animal, which is interesting as well and cool. And yeah, sets itself up, does a very good job. So that's it. That's Creepshow 2. I really enjoyed this one. I would suggest this if you like the original Creepshow. Keep going with this one. You might have yourself a good time. But I'm gonna give a look now to Creepshow 3, and I'll come back and do a review for that one. I have seen it. Um, Boy, oh boy, is it ever a major downgrade from the original two. But I'm gonna give it another watch, and I'll come back with a review for that one. So there you have it. So yes, until next time, stay scared.